just to get all of you guys hooked, we have this very interesting situation here at start. The Japanese have invaded Australia, which does show you that the AI here with WarPlan Pacific can be a bit dynamic, a bit unpredictable. Don't know if it's a move for the Japanese, but we will see how that comes. We also are dealing with the Japanese trying to push across the Irrawaddy River here in Burma, and dealing with the Chinese, of course, front. So how is everyone doing out there today? Now, there was a fairly significant invasion fleet, which we could have tried to oppose, but I want to... Hello, Jam today. That's very good. I like to have happy viewers. Could have imposed, but I just quite honestly felt that having the Japanese invade Australia wasn't going to be too damaging to our strategical situation. Obviously, they're bypassing San Cristo or here, and so it's going to stall our invasion probably of Henderson Field. But that's where the big difference here is they would have a lot of air power covering. Hey, Lanzer. Air power, potential naval power. Now, like I was saying, it was a fairly big fleet, carriers and whatnot. So what I want to do here is, let's come over here, and we're going to deploy an Intel here. Intel high, very good. Okay. Well, this Jap 6 Air Division status unknown, 7 ships. So that's probably a lot of the invasion fleet. Hey, Ambroso. How are you doing today? And so, I don't really want to just yet expose my fleet, but what I will do here is put my submarines just off their coast to disrupt supply coming in, which is only going to help me. We'll move up this core, not to attack, but I know, no, okay, it's the other one. I've got a unit in from America. We're going to disembark in the port here. So now it's just a division. This division got hammered pretty bad when in transports. Now we have down here the USS Wasp and the North Carolina battleship. But we also have way out here that was coming cross map. Yeah, we'll just come right down to here. The Hornet and much of the rest of the battleship fleet here. So we will combine these two fleets. So now that we have 2 carriers in this group, 4 carriers in this group. So we can move these 2 units in conjunction. Yes, I'm doing very well. I am so happy to be here streaming for you guys. Hello, Joe M. Now, I want to be a little aggressive here. They've got this guy here surrounded with 4 units that can all simultaneously attack. They've got 2 on this side of the river. But what I want to see about doing is, okay, 2 to 1. Oh, shoot, I forgot. That was it. Is that out of range? Yes, it is. Okay. Oh, it's no, shoot. Okay, undo last move. No, it's not that it's out of range. It's in the double rain. This is the monsoon level rain. Okay. So I did forget, but it didn't matter. Okay, they got hammered fairly hard and retreated. Here, combat logs, we can look at. The first, we lose 1 land. Second one, we lose 1 land, but they lose 2 land and retreat. So at least we're not starting with a turn with 2 units on this side of the Irrawaddy, which is a benefit. Move these guys up. We're going to go to non-garrison status there. Now here's the hard part. Here's which I've learned we want to what makes a good war game is to have to make hard choices. I know these air attacks aren't really part of the hard choices. Is we have down here a English Corps, which would be very useful in helping clear out the Japanese here. Or we can continue to move it up here, which I was hopefully going to, how do you, Mulmin? I don't know. Sorry. Unless I hear some of these odd words, I just don't know. You know, I know Rangoon and like Michnia. I think is Michnia. I don't know. Sorry, Calcutta. You know, some of these I know, but ones I'm not familiar with. I want to come here and invade and cut off all of these forces from at least rail connection and port connections to the rest of the Japanese. So that, I think, we're not going to let American or Australian, however you want to put it, hardship limit that. We don't have enough transports to move them, so we're going to keep them there, but they can get in a better place. Now, I know I just sort of praised well, I don't know if it's praise, but the AI makes things interesting here. No, we're not going to attack at a 2 or 1-to-1. But for some reason, the AI has not taken out these 2 oil refineries. I don't know why. I quite honestly don't know why. But so we're going to continue to push forces here into Burma because we want to keep the pressure on the Japanese there. Now here. The goal is to have as straight as line as possible for the defense. But should we go, 4-to-1? Yeah, that looks... 6-to-1, they fall back. Okay. Now that keeps this unit from more potentially getting surrounded, but I think I am going to move these guys up. Okay, so we have a whole... this army's facing off versus their army, but this is a Japanese army, and this is a Chinese army versus a Japanese army, and the Japanese are just better. So I don't know how well this is going to go, if they're going to push. So I'd like to get this city hex here back as my anchor point. Defend better in the city, but so will they. Okay, well. You get to a port. Okay, they're going to pop out down near Australia now. So we have some deployment, I think. Yes, I saw that earlier when we were deploying the intel. That'll get us some much needed air support here now. Coming July 9th, a core. Good. Another core in August. Early August, August 6th, late August, another core, some Marines. All right, well, 3 cores to me looks like enough to deal with the Japanese down there. Landing ships will be useful. December the Essex. Carrier group. Washington battleship. South Dakota, looking mainly for carriers. You know, one thing that we could maybe use more of is submarines. Oh, we want to be in the American. That would be helpful to be in the right place. Names didn't look right there. Else. Okay, Cutlass. Don't know. I guess there probably was a Cutlass. I'm just used to them being, well, right now I can embarrass myself by not remembering the Gato. The Gato class is all like Hawk, Bill, Pampano, Sea Fox, Growler. They're all fish, named after fish. And, well, maybe there's a Cutlass fish. Not that I know of, but Britain now. What is coming for Britain? Okay, we got another core. Britain coming. We can maybe use some air power. Well, if we do, we got to save up more for it. So I guess that's what we're going to do. Just checking if there's anything else we want to see about building. I guess not. This turn. Well, let's see how this goes. They came back across the river now with a bigger core, it looks like. We may need to fall back there. Don't want to. Don't want to totally abandon Burma, but maybe we need to. Oh, they pushed us back. Okay. Well, they're not pushing us back there. They failed there. So that line is holding in China. I pushed again on these guys. Okay, so we delivered some supplies to China. USA escorts are added to the availability pool. Some more trucks, lots of landing ships, and 2 fleets have low supplies. I'm going to guess, without having to look at the numbers too much of trying to locate that one, would be these guys, which will come back up here to get resupplied. And the other one, yes, it's this fleet that's here. Okay, well, we're going to come in here. I don't want to fall too far back. Let's look at our supply levels here. Okay, pretty good. So I think they can move to there. We may end up attacking there. We're going to disembark. And an HQ, which we're going to bring to there. And these guys, let's here. Disembark them. Okay, and then we'll. They're good. So at least these guys are now under, have core. Well, not core. Well, I guess core, yeah, because these are just divisions. The Japanese have moved a lot of their fleet down here. Ooh, light carrier group. Okay. Well, we're not going to keep our submarines there to get sunk. Yeah, let's strike here. It's because of the rain. We get half strength. We took losses. Okay. That's scary, people. That is scary. I just don't want to get cut off. So I'm going to fall back. Can't hold the river. Maybe I could move the unit into there. But they had to. Yeah. Probably wouldn't have held. Just like what happened up here. I know there's the big fleet over here. Whoa, I'm also going to do the Canberra. We're going to move these guys this way, though. I do want to keep a strong force in the Indian Ocean. Okay, now we do have a core here. Ready to deploy, but first, okay, well, first. Yeah, we'll come down there, I think. Hey, Jaculius. I think we're going to move. Oh, not enough to move them. Did I? Yeah, I got these guys off the boats. Okay. or we'll go a long ways to help down there. Okay, so they'll come out with an escort of a battleship group. This is probably a better attack here. Australian Air Force isn't doing well. 2-1. We lose one, they lose one. 3-2. Well, we'll try it. Just to push on them a bit. Now, the Japanese assessment was that they did not have the ability to, or the strength to invade Australia. They did bomb up here in Darwin, I believe it was. There was or Sydney or Melbourne, or Sydney and Melbourne, I think. Not sure that there were some, midget submarine attacks on the ports. And somewhere, I think along here, but maybe it was over here, I'm not sure, there was like a commando raid that was, and it ended up being, I don't know if it was thought to be initially, but sort of a suicide commando raid. But the Japanese assessment was they did not have the strength to successfully invade Australia. And, I'm far from an expert on Australia. But nice. I grew up in Mackay. Also, Rockhampton is one word. And I've not. Oh, serial lurker. Mackay, as in the Scottish way of pronouncing it. Yes. Rockhampton. Here, you're saying here is one word. So that you're saying that's a map fault. Okay. I do tend to say Mackay, but I do know the Mackay pronunciation there. And of course, serial lurker is a much better expert, I'm sure, in Australia. This is the valuable bit of Australia. If you can't take this, coming up here, okay, there may be some industry here of some sort that's on the map. But, what's it really going to gain Japan to get a toehold in Australia, really? If you don't think you can take it, if you don't think it's an initial landings that you're going to follow up on, you come into a place like this, secure it, bring in air power to cover landings down here, and once you secure those, you shift the air power down here, and then you do, sort of leapfrogging kind of thing. Sure. Now, I will say this, which we can see what's happening here, and I don't know how bad this is going to turn out for us. But Japan did have, in my opinion, the effective power to invade and conquer Australia. But before anyone starts jumping on me, not with maintaining all of their other commitments. It's not just occupying Burma, it's being in a strong enough position in Burma to threaten invasion of India. It's, at least there was an attempt to push into China from the south, from Burma. That was stopped by Chennault's fighters because the path was just way too open. It was just over one of these passes somewhere along here. it was a switchback way leading down to a river situation that was pretty significant, and the bridges were fairly easy to blow. Now, maybe fairly easy to rebuild, but not to be able to effectively get and sustain a few divisions. Moving a commando force up would have been no problem, but to what effect? You're not going to take a lot of territory or positions with just a commando type or a raiding battalion or whatever. So they weren't able to use the road to bring the sustaining elements of multiple divisions, shall we say. Again, troops can scatter, if you're having a bunch of troops marching along, they can scatter off the road when they, get the air raid sirens or just hear aircraft coming or something like that. But what does that get you? There's no food along here. You're not able to just, tend your horses and graze off grass or something like that. You've got to be able to sustain movement and do that. And it clearly showed Chenault's ability to hit the road hard enough with air power enough to give the Japanese we cannot sustain the wherewithal to move a division or more up into China to really push into the south of China. That's what they wanted to do. And of course they needed large numbers of troops to hold down the rear areas in China, as well as push or just threaten against the nationalist Chinese. And occupying all the rest of this and whatnot. And so with all those commitments, Japan did not have the wherewithal to conquer Australia. But, if you had a different planning motivation, shall we say, because they're really, how much do I second guess Alvaro? He's done a lot of research on this, but I do question how much there's a railway link here. But Japan could have easily come into Siam at the time and hold this border here and leave Burma uncontested, try to take down here, sort of ignore all of these island operations. There really isn't anything there, and if the U.S. aren't prepared, and they weren't in 1942 really to push hard, they might have been able to get enough force together. And I always got to say this, you've got to remember, warfare is a political act. Okay? Warfare is a political act. To defeat your enemy, and this goes back to Sun Tzu and all this stuff, isn't necessarily to fight the battle. And now Sun Tzu's world, the battle wasn't people skirmishing with each other. It was the big Waterloo type of an event in which your army matches against their army. Sun Tzu wanted to ideally defeat your opponent with never fighting the battle. It would be maneuver him into the enemy in such a position that they realize, we're cut off from our supplies. They're holding superior ground up on some hills or whatever it is. We should negotiate. If defeat means utter death to the army, well, you might as well, of course, fight. But if it just means, our side's going to lose part of a province or, something like that in sort of his world of the warring states in China, okay, you defeat the enemy not by defeating him in battle so much, but defeat him in the campaign, right? Okay, so if you collapse, you land, you look like you're unstoppable, sort of like what happens in Singapore. The Japanese were out of ammo. They almost literally had no more bullets for their guns. The British could have easily, in my opinion, could have pushed, captured all of the Japanese forces, or destroyed, shall we say, one fashion or another, including maybe capturing. destroyed all the Japanese forces in Malaya at the time, but they didn't know that. Okay, so they lost, so they gave up. Well, maybe it would look unstoppable without, say, U.S. reinforcements and whatnot. And we ought to move these guys up a little bit to get them into command here. And maybe the Japanese, or the Australian government would have tried to negotiate a settlement, whatever that might mean. Japanese withdrawal for Australia's withdrawal from the war, neutrality, no, allied forces touching, no, you can't use it as air bases, no naval bases, nothing, we're out of the war. And you might have had a solution like that, and that would have been successful. And what does he want to say? Yes, Rockhampton, I've just found that with most games in the Pacific Theater, it can get very tedious because the space is so vast and there's so much coastline, it takes ages for anything to happen. Well, this is every 2 weeks turn for each side. So we're right now just at July 1942, realizing that we started approximately 6 months ago. So yeah, and we've gotten into all of this. So it's a lot of stuff is going on. This is a much faster play than Gary Grigsby's War in the Pacific, and it's intended to be. And I'm just talking a bit here while looking at some of this stuff, which is slowing it up a little bit. Okay, well, not that I'm going to. 3-2, not worthy of attacking. We have a fairly strong army there, that army's just sort of been pushed back, so it's not terribly great. Right, okay, so I think we're just going to let that sort of sit there, see what where if anywhere they want to push. So pretty quick. Okay, now I'm worried about these guys, but we will see how this goes. Again, you want to try to keep it straight as lines as possible for defending here, though you do take into account terrain. Terrain is critical. Major rivers, mountains, cities to defend in. So they're pushing there. Okay, they pushed. Okay, ooh, okay. Well, if they can occupy here, they might cut this guy off, which would be bad. Would be very bad. Now, this is, of course, called WarPlan Pacific, but it very much does include the Chinese theater. Now they're bombing us over here. We could maybe use some proper fighters for better intercept. Okay, that didn't turn out so bad. Allies deliver resources to China. Anti-tank advancement, which really does help it. India's 17th Division shattered. Yeah, that's not good. George Gifford of the India Command increases the combat experience to 7. Good. USA's engineers correct the depth problems plaguing the Mark 14 torpedo boat. Oh, good. +1 surface combat to the USA submarines. India is low on oil. Okay, just so that you guys know, the US's submarine warfare was excellent throughout the war. The quality of the submarines, the quality of the sailors. But there was great doubts about them at the start of the war and for the first almost year of the war, 6 months of the war. Torpedoes are a big, expensive item. And I know I've talked about this before, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard this. big expensive item. They were only produced in one arsenal. I forget the name on the east coast of the United States, and that's all they were produced on. And you know they knew they had an absolutely great torpedo that didn't work. Now they knew they had one, so they didn't need to test it. Now, if they had tested it properly, they would have found out two problems. One, if you tell it to, like, say, travel at 20 feet under the sea, it's way, way down, like 40 feet or something. Basically, you need to tell it to, because you set a little gauge inside, to run on the surface, and then it's like about 10 feet or whatever below the surface. So a lot of the torpedoes were just going under the ships. The second problem was with the firing pins on the torpedoes that weren't, if they got sort of a glancing blow, it would work, if I understand correctly. But if they hit straight on, like you would think you would want to, it was like too much of an impact on it, and it wouldn't detonate the torpedo, so it would just go thunk. Maybe even punch a hole inside of a ship, because ships aren't that big. They finally, and no matter what Nimitz, because Nimitz was a submarine officer, no matter what Nimitz said, no matter what the Pacific Ocean said, everything came back. Nope. They're all perfect. They're all fine. You just suck. You guys just don't know what you're doing. So they finally got like a straight cliff in one part of Hawaii and started firing at them. And they did the testing and figured the stuff out and proved that there was problem with the torpedoes. So that's one of the things. So now our submarines have +1 surface combat. So that's good. And India's oil is low. We'll take a look at the oil in a bit. Okay, well, that big fleet that was just down here went back here and or back up to Truk. Which is useful that it's gone away. Okay, first thing I want to do is get rid of this HQ. We're going to let you hopefully repair. We don't have the... I move these guys into too small of an port, so they're low on supplies. So they're going to come down to, how big is a port of? No, I want to be on the port. Down here, okay. 3. That's 7. That's 7. So what I want to do is come down here. Get these guys properly supplied up. Don't tickle them, boot them. Okay, well. Yeah. Because I'm then hoping to isolate some of these other units. And you like that. No. I'm going to move you like that. Bomber group. Yeah, you should be all right there. Well, okay, two battleships. These have a lot of battleships. So we're going to add you to this fleet here. Okay, well, fortunately, they let us have an escape. Retreat path. Now, I don't know how well, if at all, we can invade in this monsoon type weather. I'm not sure it's going to last. But let's come to here with this one, including our core. I know these guys are still heading in that direction, but yeah. There we go. Use that to maybe next turn see about doing an invasion. We'll see about that. These guys are now putting them out here to try to limit the amount of damage from submarines and convoys. Let's increase. We have, oh, wrong nation. That's why I wasn't looking right. There we go. There we go. A little better. Yes, she'll be done in one turn. We don't have enough for that. Okay. We need more merchant marines coming in for sure for the USA. We could use a truck supply. Now we have some here, but we got one to there. Transports. We'll build 20 more because I want to be more flexible on strategic movement. And yes, now that we have better submarines, we'll even add another submarine to the production queue for. I'm thinking about it here. And I guess this just looks weak, is why they've been hitting on this guy, but I don't mind that so much. Where I would mind if they were hitting either here or here with more concentrated force. We'll see how the rain helps us. Well, since our Japanese fleet that chased us off disappeared, let's head back up here and try to reduce their supplies. I always feel like I should be doing more. But I think we're doing about the right amount of stuff. I was thinking about. Okay. Let's get a attack group here. Yeah, close support. That sounds like a good functionality for them. All right. Yes, I did leave that they can get this unit can get supply, but I really didn't want to have a unit in between them so that both units attack them. So this is a serious war game. I really like it. I like I like WarPlan Europe as it's sort of becoming called as well a lot. Um, but it's not, if you want the depth, I've not played, I've watched some War in the Pacific. I've played War in the East 1, some of it a while ago. I've been playing some War in the East 2. So I'm familiar with War in the East. I'm not, haven't played War in the Pacific. And if you're used to that and you like that, and that's the detail you want to play, then that's the game for you. Now, if you want to be able to play that game or play a quicker game, then you can also get this. Or if that's just a bit much for you, okay. Now they just moved that headquarters in there, and I don't know what the hell the AI was thinking. Oh yeah, oil. We didn't deal with Japan, or India's oil. What are they thinking? I mean, literally, what the hell are they thinking? I don't understand that. No, no, I don't want the Hermes. I want this. Okay, well, I'm going to save this because I need to experiment a little bit here. Yes, we're saving it as that.